Hey there, my name is Will. I'm one of the roasters as well as a former barista here at Corvus Coffee, and I'm with you today to look at one of the most unique travel brewers on the market, which is the MiiR Pourigami. The nickname for this brewer is the Back Pocket Brewer, and it definitely lives up to that moniker. It comes in this super neat traveling case, so it's really easy to pack into the nooks and crannies of your overpacked camping bag. This dripper is made of 3 interlocking medical grade stainless steel cards that come together to form a triangle shaped brewer with about a 1-inch hole at the bottom of it, similar to a V60 or Chemex. Speaking of the V60, these two brewers are actually really similar, but with a couple differences. For starters, they're both similar size. The V60 is just a little bit larger, but they both actually use the same filters. That's where the similarities end though. The V60 has some pretty aggressive rifling in the brewer, which allows for a lot more bypass during the brew, whereas the Pourigami just has flat sides. That means that the only way that water can get out of this brewer is through the bottom hole here. This means that we're going to have to grind about medium coarse, whereas the V60 would grind medium, just about 2 or 3 clicks coarser than a V60 brew. They both use similar recipes, but the Pourigami, I've noticed, has a lot more syrupy body and punchy sweet notes to it. Let's get brewing. So the recipe for this brewer is going to be pretty simple. We're going to start off with 20 grams of coffee, and we're going to brew it using 300 grams of water, so a simple 1:15 ratio. When I designed this recipe, I did keep in mind that this is a travel brewer, so I made sure that you don't need a gooseneck kettle or a scale to do it. Gooseneck kettles are great for brewing coffee at home, but they're really cumbersome to travel with. I don't know anyone with the Tetris skills necessary to pack that into a suitcase. The scale is also great for brewing coffee at home, but it is really delicate, so it makes it really tough to travel with. So instead of using a scale to weigh out 20 grams of coffee, about 2 generous half scoops using an AeroPress scoop should get you into the same ballpark as 20 grams. We'll talk a little bit about the pouring later, but for now let's make sure that we wet our filter and get ready to go. When wetting the filter, we want to make sure that we use a lot of water just to make sure that it's really thoroughly preheated. This is a super thin travel brewer, so that means it loses heat pretty quickly. We also want to make sure that we don't pour too high up on the sides of the filter because you can cause some structural weakness there. During the brew, we're going to try to keep our water level below the top of this brewer, not up to the top of the filter, because it's really easy for this to fall over and then your slurry dumps everywhere. So let's dump our rinse water. Going to add our 20 grams of medium coarse ground coffee. And a big tip that I like to give here for this brewer is to create a small divot at the center of the grounds. This is going to make sure that you really evenly saturate all of your coffee during the bloom phase, which is really important. All right, and we are ready to brew. All right, I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to start off with about a 50-gram bloom, or really just to make sure that all of the coffee is saturated. You can totally eyeball this. We're going to give it a gentle stir just to break up any clumps of coffee there. And we're going to wait for about 30 seconds here. Now, I know you're wondering about the pouring technique without using a scale. We're really just going to pour it up to the top each time. So with this, I'm going to pour up to the top. We just hit our 30 seconds. Rinse off our spoon. And you're gonna pour to the top, maybe just barely past it, but you really don't wanna go too far. After you're done pouring, we're gonna wait for it to drain about halfway down, and then we're gonna pour it up one more time. For it to draw down about halfway, it should take you roughly 1 minute and 30 seconds. We're about 1:35 right now, so I'm gonna add the remainder of my water. It's very weird at first brewing in a triangular pattern, but you will get used to it. All right, so we are at our target water weight now. I'm gonna give this a really gentle stir just to knock any clumps off, and also a really gentle swirl to even the coffee bed. And now we wait for it to draw down. The drawdown for this should take about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. All right, now that we're done brewing our coffee, let's talk a little bit more about the characteristics of this brewer. The Pourigami was designed to be a really great brewer on the go, and it does it very, very well. This thing kicks ass. One of the biggest things is just how durable it is. Whenever I'm traveling and I decide to bring coffee gear with me, I'm really worried about breaking it because most of it is either made of glass or ceramic, very delicate materials. This is not at all an issue with the Pourigami. Not only is this brewer really tough and durable, it's super, super consistent. This is by far one of the most delicious travel brews that I've ever had. However, this brewer doesn't come without its drawbacks. We already talked about the possibility of the filter paper folding over and dumping your slurry everywhere, which is not a great experience. But the filter is also pretty delicate in this brewer. It's really easy when you're stirring or even just during the brew for it to bust open, dumping your slurry into your cup, which is also not a great experience. Another thing is that it's really easy for the coffee to get caught in the sides of the filter here, meaning that that coffee doesn't have enough contact time with the rest of the water, meaning you have just a very inconsistent brew. However, I would say all of these issues are easily solved with just paying careful attention and making sure that you have a steady hand during the brewing process. The stirring and the swirling are really meant to get the coffee out of those corners and into the middle of the brew bed to accommodate for that inconsistency. On top of that, just make sure that you don't fill this brewer up too high or stir too vigorously or anything. This makes brewing really good coffee on the go a reality. I hope this video has been helpful and enjoyable to you. Make sure that you share, like, subscribe, and all that because we have a lot of great content coming your way very shortly. My name is Will, and I hope that you have a great day and that you have fun brewing coffee. Cheers.